Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. We went into space for Christmas week, so this week we're going to move back down to Earth for tonight's weeknight video. Tonight we're going to play another Flippin' Right, and we're going to debut a new game on the channel. That new game is a suburban Flippin' Right called Welcome To from Blue Cocker Games. Our goal here is to make the best suburb we can based on victory points. We're also going to do our first play-along video with this game. What I mean by a play-along video is you guys will actually be able to play along with this game. I'll provide a link to the score sheet from the Blue Cocker website in the description down below. So, I'll be curious to hear how you guys score on this video this game in the comments down below. Anyway, let's start setting up the game, so let's go through the cards first. The cards in this game are numbered 1 through 15 with one of 6 various effects on them, plus this card over here that's specific to solo mode, but I'll get into that more when I get to it. So, and I'll explain more about how the numbers work, but let's talk about the effects. So first up, we might have a park card, and you'll be able to see the effect that's coming on the back of the card. What a park means is when you build in one of the rows on your score sheet, you'll be able to cross off one of the parks at the top, and I'll point all of this out when we go over to the board. Well, the board, but by that I mean the score sheet. Then we have this BIS effect, and I forget what this actually stands for. No clue, but it will let you repeat a number because normally you can't have, say, 2 8s together, but this effect would let you repeat that at the cost of victory points at the end of the game, depending on how many of them you use. So that's the biz. Then we might have fences come out, where that'll let us help divide our plots into the number we need depending on what layout we're going for. So we can use that on a dotted line, and once again I'll point that out when we go over to the score sheet, so we can use that to divide our plots. Then we might be able to add pools. So if we put this on a number with a pool, we can circle the pool, and then that'll also score us additional victory points at the end of the game. Then we have the estate size, which is this effect, where it can make one of your estate sizes stronger at the end of the game to be worth more points. Then we have the temp agency out, where you can actually use this to either change a number by up to 1 or 2 in either direction. Now, in the solo game, it's actually a little bit different from a social game, where you have to use at least 7 temp agencies to get the points for it at the end of the game in a solo game. Otherwise, you get nothing for it. And then this card, in particular to the solo mode, means that all the plans are approved, so you won't be able to get the higher point value for that when it comes up. But anyway, I will go ahead and finish up setup on that, and we'll move back over to the score sheet when setup is all done. I'll pull the score sheet up so we can see it a little bit better. But you can see the pools here. You'll circle those if you're able to mark them off on your sheet. Then the dotted lines here represent the fences for each plan. Then up here we've got the park scoring. So once again, when you use a park, you can mark off the leftmost on that row's parks. Then down here we've got all our final scoring. So based on our plans, each section's parks, the pools, the temp agency, the estate sizes, your repeats, and whenever you take a building permit refusal, whenever you can't build, you cross off one of these markers, and then the game ends in one of 3 ways. So when I build all my houses, the game will be over, except that won't happen in a solo game most likely. If I manage to complete all 3 city plans, then the game will also end. Or if I take 3 building permit refusals, which will be these down here. So those are the ways that the game ends. And then we need to take a look at our plans. So our first level plan is to have 6 single units. We get 8 points if we get that before the approved card comes up, or 4 points if we get it after that. Our second plan is to get 3 singles and then a 6. 11 points if we get it before the plans are approved, 6 if we get it after. Now, one thing I want to note, these actually don't stack, so I can't use, say, a 3 for this plan. I can't use 3 singles for this and then use them again for this plan, and the lighting is going to be playing games with us again tonight. So we would need, so in order to complete both of these plans, we would need to get a total of 9 singles on our score sheet. Then the last plan is to have a 2 and then a 5. They don't have to be stacked like this. They just have to be somewhere in our suburb. We get 7 victory points if we get them before that, before the approved, or 3 if we get it after that. So I think we are pretty much all set to go. So let's go ahead with that and get into this gameplay. So every turn in a solo game, you're going to draw 3 cards and use 2 of them. You'll use 1 for the number and the other for the effect. So in order to represent that, I've got 2 colored dice right here. I'm going to use the red for the number and the blue for the effect. So first card up. On offense, we have a 6. Now the fence wouldn't have to go in the same row that we build on. And strengthening an estate size, we have an 11, and a temp agency gives us a 7. So that light's going to be annoying. Fantastic. Okay. So we said red for number, blue for effect. I'm going to make a note of that, just so I can keep it straight. Okay, so I think we're going to use the 11 for the number and the 6 for the effect. So I'm going to build a fence. Now, I kind of want the 11 toward one of the sides here. So I think what I'm going to do with this 11 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm actually going to put the 11 here, and then I'm going to build my 6 fence right here. So now, once I complete, I'm not considered to have the estate complete until I fill in all 6 numbers on this row. Whoops, it would help if I actually bring them down a little bit more in shot so you can see what the numbers are. So once again, we had 6 on a fence, 11 on an estate, and 7 on a temp agency. I used the 11 for the number and the fence for the effect. So these will get discarded. That light is going to be playing games with me all video, it looks like. All right, so I'm going to change out that light before we go any further. I will be right back. Now that we have the lighting situation straight, on with the gameplay. So on a fence, we find a 13, which I might be tempted to use for the number. On an estate size, or on an estate strengthener, we have a 5. And for a pool, we have a 3. So I think I actually want to go. I think I actually want to go number effect here. I'm not going to use the 13 yet. So I'm using the 3 for the number, and I'm strengthening an estate size. So I'm going to put the 3 here. And then what estate am I going to strengthen? But I think I'm going to have a lot of singles. I want to strengthen my 1 sizes right now. So that'll do it for that group. Next 3 up, on a park we find a 10. On a BIS repeat, we find a 6. And on a park, we find a 5. So I think here I think I want to go number effect. So I'm going to use the 5 for the number. I'll put the 5 here, and then I'll build a park up here. So then those are gone. Then on another park we have a 6. On a repeat, on a BIS, we have a 10. And on a pool, we have a 12. So here I'm going to go number effect. So I'm using the 10, and I am going to build it on a pool. So I'll get to circle that pool and cross off the lowest score on the score sheet. So that's done. And I probably should mention, I apologize if I'm moving a little quickly, but if you need a minute, go ahead and pause the video so you can plan out your move and then go into the next one. So on the next estate strengthening effect, we have an 8. On a fence, we have a 15. And for a temp agency, we have a 3. So here I think we're going to go number effect, just because I need a temp agency right now. So I'll take a 9 and cross off my first temp agency. That'll do it for that group. And then next up on a fence we find a 10. On a park, actually both of these are going to be parks, I can tell from the top card of the deck. We find an 11. And on another park, we find a 12. So here we're going to go number effect. So I'll put the 12 here. I need 2 more to complete my 6. And then I'm using a fence. I think we'll go ahead and partition this down. So I've got a pair of 2s in there. All right. And then on an estate strengthener, we find an 8, temp agency, 13, and on a fence, 2. So I think here we're going to go, I think we're going to go a 13 to let me place right here. Well, I could use almost any of these. So I think I'll go number effect. So I'll use the 8 and I'll use it as is. And then despite not changing the number at all, because I used the temp agency, I can change it by up to 0, 1, or 2 in either direction. So that does count as me using a temp agency still. Anyway, that group is done. Then on an estate strengthener, we find a 7. On a fence, we find an 8. And on another estate strengthener, we find a 5. So I think here we're going to go, let's go number effect. So I'm going to use a 5 and I have to put it in the middle. I have to put it in one of the rows I haven't started yet because I've already got a 5 in the top row. So I'll put the 5 here. And where do I want to put the fence? I think I'm going to put the fence right here. So I need to start seeing some small numbers for this row. But anyway, those are all done. On a pool, we find an 8. On a park, we find a 1. And on an estate strengthener, we find a 15. Let's go... Let's go number effect. So I'll put the 15 in here, and then I'll cross off another park in this row. So now I've got my 6 completed, which means I need to get 3 singles in there so I can complete plan 2 potentially. But anyway, on a fence we find a 10. On a park, we have a 7. And on another fence, we find a 5. So I think here we're going to go... Let's go number effect. So I'll put the 10, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, if I put the 10, I'll put the 10 here. And then where do I want the fence? I think I'll put the fence down here. Yeah, that'll work. Then for our next set of 3, on a pool we find another 10. On a park, we find an 8. And on an estate strengthener, we find a 14. So here, what do we want to do? I think here we're going to go number effect. So I'll put the 8 down here, and then I'll strengthen my 2s, since it looks like I'm also headed for having a lot of those. But anyway, next group up, on a pool we find a 6. On a park, a 9. And on a fence, an 8. So I'll use the 6 for the number, and I'll use the fence for the effect. So I'll put the 6 here, and I'll put a fence in here. So if I manage to fill this number in, I actually will complete plan 2, because I'll have 3 singles then along with my 6 length lot, or my 6 length estate. But anyway, first up on a repeat we find an 8. The only problem is for me to complete this, I need either a 4 or a repeat on a 3 or a 5. But on an estate strengthener, I find a 9. On another estate strengthener, I find a 1. So actually I'm going to go number effect. So I can complete this 1, so I can put this 1 in here. And then the estate strengthener, I will actually strengthen my 6s. So that will do there. Next group of 3. On a fence I find a 9. On a repeat, a 12. And on a park, I find an 11. So here I'm going to go number effect. So we'll put the 11 here. I could put a fence here and complete, actually there are a couple of places I could put fences in and complete plan 2 right now. So I think I actually will put a fence in here, and that will complete plan 2 because I have my 6 here, and this and this are all singles. So I get the 11 victory points from completing plan 2. So that plan for me has been approved. So that's the approved point on plan 2. So basically if you get plan 2, if you get plan 2 after this, you would only get the 6 victory points for that because that plan has been approved. But anyway, moving those over to the discard pile. On a repeat we find a 9. With a temp agency, we find another 9. And here on a fence, we find an 11. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to go number effect. So we'll use a temp agency here. I'll boost that 11 up to a 12, and that will make my third temp agency that I've used this game. So those go to the discard pile. I'll just go ahead and reorganize that real quick. Then on a repeat, we find a 3. On an estate strengthener, we find a 12. And on a park, we find a 2. So I think here we're going to go number effect. So we'll strengthen an estate. I'll put the 2 down here. And what estate do I want to strengthen? I think I'll just strengthen my 6s here. So that will cover that. Then for our next set of cards, an estate strengthener is an 11. Then on a temp agency, we find a 10. And a park, we find a 7. So here I think we'll go... Anything here is going in the third row no matter how I do it. So I think we'll go number effect. I'll put a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'll use the temp agency to make the 7 a 9 and put that down here, which will be my 4th temp agency for the game. And then I have started into my third row. But anyway, looking at our next set of 3 cards, on a fence we find a 5. A park we find another 5. They really want me to use a 5 this time. And on a pool, we find a 7. So I think here we have to go number effect. So I'll put the 7 down here. And where do I want the fence to go? I kind of want to make this my 5 so I can try to finish plan 3 with that. So I'll put the fence down. I don't really need it. I don't need any more. Well, I'll make a fence here so I get another 2 estate out of that. That will do it there. Then our next set of 3, on a fence we find a 3. On another fence we find an 11. And on an estate strengthener we find a 2. So here I think we'll go number effect. So we'll use the 3. We'll put the 3 down here. And then fence, where do I want the fence to go in? Do I start working on... I've got a couple of 2s now. I haven't seen another 4 come up yet, which I really want to put there. So I put the 3 down here. And the fence I want to put... I need a 5 plan is what I need right now. Which actually I'm working on that. So I'll put the fence down here, I guess. And then our next 3 lot cards. On a fence we find a 14, which I might have to take. And we got 2 temp agencies coming out. First one up is a 4. I know where that's going. And on another temp agency we find a 6. So we're going number ability. So we'll use a temp agency there. I'll put the 4 down here. And then that will be my 5th temp agency. I forgot to name my city. We'll call this Relay, because this channel is mostly based on the Cthulhu mythos, but we're stepping away from that in this game, obviously. So yeah, just feel free to name your city whatever you like. You can share that in the comments below as well if you like, but anyway. Next 3 cards up. On a repeat, we find a 13, which could actually go down here, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. On a fence, we find a 6, and a temp agency gives me an 8. So I think here we'll go number effect. I'll put the 13 down here, and then that will be my 6th temp agency. One more and I'll get the temp agency points at the end of the game. Do I have the... I think I used these 3 singles as part of the plan as part of this plan. So I just need one more, I just need a 1 here and I can complete this plan. Anyway, coming for our next 3 cards, on an estate strengthener we find a 6, which could go down here. On a fence we find a 7, and a park we find a 9. So here I will go number effect. So I'll put the 6 down here and mark off a park in this row. That will do it for that group. Then our next cards up, on a pool we find a 4. On a fence we find a 1, which I need desperately. Actually, this works out really well. On an estate strengthener we'll find a 10. So here we'll go number effect. I'll put the 1 here, which will let me build this pool out. But more importantly, 2 and 5, I have built plan 3, so that'll be another 7 victory points for me. So that plan has been approved. And once again, that's the approved point for plan 3. So if you complete it now, I'll bring that up so you can see it a little bit better. But if you complete plan 3 now, you'll only get 3 victory points for that. So I'll move these to the discard pile. And then before we move into the next set of cards, I need to take a small break. All right, back from my small break. You probably won't be able to see it as far zoomed out as I am. But what I've done here is I've actually marked off the plans that I've used each lot in. So that way I remember I can't use them again, and I can't subdivide them further to be part of another plan. But anyway, next card's up. On an estate strengthener we find a 4. On a repeat we find a 7. And on an estate strengthener we find a 9. So here I will go number effect, because I can put the 4 down here. Let's do this. Let's put the 4 down here, and then I will make my... I'll make my 2... Well, the question is, I think I'm probably going to try to partition these down a little bit further. I don't know yet. I'll make my 2s stronger for now, because we are also heading toward the end of the game. We don't have many cards left. So it might be worth just making my 2s stronger in case I'm not able to finish that last plan. But anyway, on a park we find an 8. And here's the point where any remaining plans are considered approved. So now, for plan 1, now you only get 4 victory points for that. Anyway, on a park we find a 15. And on a pool we find a 13. So here I will go number effect. So I'll build a 15 here and build out the park. So now I'm working only in the 3rd row. Unless I end up using fences, but I have a feeling I saw most of my fences earlier in the game. So anyway, on a pool, on our next set of cards, on a pool we find a 9. On a repeat we find a 4. And on a temp agency we find a 12. So here I will go, let's go number effect. So I'll make this a 10, and that will be my 7th temp agency, so I will get 7 victory points off of temp agencies. So I'll go ahead and score that right now. And then this is actually the last 3 cards for the game. So on an estate strengthener we find a 7. On a park we find a 4. And our last park of the game is a 14. So here I have to go number, and I guess we'll go effect. So I'll put the 14 way out here and build the park. And then here the deck is actually empty. So with that, the game is over, so now we'll go into final scoring. Alright, so for the plans, I completed plans 2 and 3 before approval time. So I get, this is going to be awkward to write. Okay, that actually kind of works. So I get 18 victory points there. And then whatever's left most visible value for the parks, I get that. So 4 for row 1, 2 for row 2, 4 for row 3 is a total of 10. Whatever is topmost invisible on the pools, I get that. I get 7 points here because I used at least 7 temp agencies in the solo game. Then for the estates, I had 4 singles, so I get 12 points for that. And on 2s, I had 1, 2, 3, so I get another 12 points for that. I would get 3 points for 3 lot I had, but I didn't have any. Actually, did I count my ones right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so I get 12 points for that. I didn't have any 3s or 4s. I had 1 5, so I get 5 points for that. I had 1 6, which I used as... My 6 was up here. That was part of plan 2, so I get 8 points for that. I didn't use any repeats, and I didn't have to take any building permit refusals. So, for my total victory points here, I had 28, 34, 41, 53, 65, 78. So I had 78 victory points on this one. That's usually about where I have tended to score on my playthroughs of this off camera, but I'm curious to see what city names you guys came up with and what victory points you guys scored on this one. But anyway, that will do it for this play along video of Welcome To. This is going to be a very busy week on the channel coming up. Tomorrow I'm expecting to make 2 videos. I'm expecting to have I'm going to record an end of year chat, and I expect to have a product unboxing. Now, the end of year chat is just basically like tying up loose ends for the year, for the 2022 and what to look forward to in 2023. Then Friday we're going to have the intro for the winter campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game, and I'll reveal what campaign we're doing at that time. Sunday we'll have the first scenario for that campaign, and then next week on the weeknight videos, we'll step back into the background campaign for Hero Realms. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.